Dale Carnegie, who, you're aware of Dale Carnegie, leadership guru from the, 20s, 30s, and 40s. I wasn't exposed to Dale Carnegie leadership until I was in my early 50s. They actually brought the local Dale Carnegie franchise into K-Force. And I got to admit, I was like, all right, Dale Carnegie. I mean, I've been at this a while. Halfway through the first morning, I'm like, good God Almighty, I wish I'd have known. I wish I would have been exposed to this when I was 18 years old, because it's really good. Why is it good? Because it's fundamental. But he said one thing in one of his books that I never forgot. He said, give a man a reputation to live up to. And that's what you were doing, John, when you were, you can do this. And I realized as a young Marine, I was a very young drill instructor. I was a 20-year-old drill instructor. I graduated my first platoon. I was 20 years old. And the Marine Corps gave me a reputation to live up to. And I did not want to gag on that opportunity. And I was blessed by being given several reputations to live up to during my time. And I realized that if it wasn't for people's confidence in me, I probably wouldn't have volunteered or tried to do half of those things. Like, nah, that's just not me. And so I want to give you one last thought on that thought, because I know we've all been the recipient of that reputation to live up to. And I want your last closing thoughts on that quote. What would you offer to people to not only seek those reputations, promote it a little bit, give me an opportunity, to live up to this. And then the responsibility of a leader to do that in reverse, to look at someone, and I used to call it, make somebody famous, give them an opportunity to be famous, bring them up. Instead of you doing it, you take it, you brief the executives today, any thoughts?
I always love the phrase, people will rise or fall to the level of expectation. Yeah. So I think when leading, you have a response, and you have to keep things real, right? I mean, but there's generally a level of potential within people that can be developed to that. So you can't be walking around glad handing everybody, hey, you're brilliant. Hey, I love you, man. All of this, right? You lose. That's not authentic, and it's not real. One of the stories I tell in the book is my plebe year at the Naval Academy. And so at the end of your first semester, and I was just in survival mode. I was operating at about my horizon was about 30 minutes, maybe. The next evolution, the next time I was going to have an encounter with the upperclassmen, how was my uniform, blah, 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 right? It was like survival. And so at the end of your first semester, you have this sit down with an upperclassman who was a junior. I was a freshman then. And I respected this man greatly. He was impressive. And so I was dreading this, because right after this, we had a chow call, and then we had to go to a formation. And anyway, just so walk into his room, and he allowed me to, come from a position of attention, have a seat. And he said, so I've got your grades, got your performance for this semester. How do you think you're doing? And I said, honestly, surviving, sir. And he said, okay. And he asked me a question that just shook me. He said, what do you see yourself accomplishing in the next 3.5 years? So by the time you graduate, what are you going to, and I couldn't see past the next 30 minutes. I couldn't see past my response to his question. And I said, sir, hope to have a B average, and, I hope to graduate. And I remember, because he had been watching me closely, and he just looked down, shook his head, and he said, you are setting your expectations way too low. And then he said this, he said, here's what I see you accomplishing. Boom, grade point average. Boom, sports. Boom, student government, whatever. Boom, 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 right? Laid out very specific things that were not just, whatever. And I was blown away. And I mean, it was one of those moments where because he had done the work. He wasn't just throwing this out. It was authentic. Here's what he saw of my potential. He was very specific about it.
Yeah.
At the end of and I've told him this, he became an admiral later on. And I said, sir, I did all of those things that you thought that I could do, not because you said that I could do them, but because I believed that I could.